Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach Kay. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host, Coach Kay.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Look, live is fun. Technology is awesome, but we are even awesomer.
How are you doing, Coach Kay?
I'm doing amazing. I was sick for 2 days, but now I am up and at 'em, so I feel great today. How about yourself?
Good. Yeah, I was actually sick a little bit last week, too. I think it's just from the go from the holidays and then just trying to catch up on everything and then not getting rest.
Oh, absolutely. And I just started working on a conference that I'm doing in October. So I know I was in go mode and my body said, stop.
Yes. I mean, it's a good thing to even talk about since I talked about it earlier today. Rest is so important. If you do not sleep, you will go a little bit bonkers, because when you rest, that's when you're inside of your brain. That's when the repairs come and put things back. So you feel a little calmer, can think a little clearer.
Absolutely. Because when I tell you, I slept all of yesterday and I feel so much better today. So yes, that is absolutely, I'm revamped.
Good. Because we need a lot of energy to talk about our exciting topic today.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We are going to talk about monogamish or monogamous. Yes. And people are like, what is that?
I know. I love it. Like, I can't wait.
So if you're listening, please stay tuned. We're going to get into so much more details about that. But before we get into detail, I'd love to talk about our charity of the month. Do you want to introduce that?
Our charity of the month is La Casa de las Madres.
Yes, it's an excellent charity that helps out people with domestic violence. It's 24 hours a day. All you have to do is go to www, well, actually just 3 W's, guys. I added a fourth one, .lacasa.org. Definitely check it out. So today, we are going to talk about relationships. Yes. And how being monogamous, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means monogamish.
Exactly. And what I'm really excited about is we have a wonderful host, a guest coming on. Her name is Brianna Carey, and she is going to help us have this conversation. She and her husband have been in the business of helping relationships. He's a counselor. She's a relationship intimacy coach. And they've been doing this for years. And so I can't wait to bring her on for us to get started talking about this. So we're going to take a break and we will be back in a moment.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? Vacation to reignite the passion, the desire in your relationship? Vacation counseling is just for you. We are deeply committed to your success as a couple. Our couples counseling retreats are exclusive, effective, and intimate. At Vacation Counseling, you will benefit from a combination of couples counseling, intimacy counseling, and individual counseling while you and your partner enjoy a relaxing vacation in sunny Southwest Florida. If you are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on prices and packages.
Welcome back to Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. Hello, Brianna.
Hello.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and have a very fun conversation with you all.
Yes. So you are a relationship and intimacy coach?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. One of the questions we ask just right off the bat is, and since that's even part of your title, how do you define intimacy?
Ooh, that's a good one. Intimacy is the deep emotional connection. It's not always, the physical, the sex. It's the connection between two people and that deep emotional, I don't know, it's almost kind of like a language that they're speaking to each other, that they just are so in tune to one another. That's deep intimacy. So,
Yes, I love how you put that connection. Yeah, that deep emotional aspect. And so, in relation to our topic today, how does that relate?
oh my gosh, in so many ways. So, when you are super in tune to one another, deeply intimate, you're going to be able to, it kind of opens up the door for more exploration in a safe space because you are so in tune with one another. You can have these conversations and feel safe doing so, feel comfortable, being vulnerable, expressing fantasies. And that's how a lot of times this topic even comes up is through fantasy. So, I can keep going.
No, that's to
Well,
say
let's
exploration and fantasies are so important when it comes to especially the longevity of any relationship. And you're absolutely right. Just even thinking about the title and topic of going from monogamous to monogamish, as you start to explore, you really do open up to, well, what if we try this? Well, what if,
Yep, exactly. Yeah. It just really kind of opens up possibilities, and so when you, especially long-term relationships, right? You're always trying to figure out how you can spice things up and bring that spark back. When you first start dating and you're together, like you have all this newness, you're still exploring each other. When you're together for a while, sometimes you're like, okay, that's great. It's fun. But now what? What else can we do? And sometimes that might be role playing. That might be, sexy talk, or that might be bringing in some toys and impact play and different things. And it can also be exploring what it might be like to play with others. So, yeah.
And that's a slippery slope and sometimes a fun slope. And that can go many ways. What is the important part when, this might be off topic of questions, but what is the important key to going from monogamous into monogamish?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go off on my tangent here. So I'm going to kind of define what monogamish is. So monogamish is when there are, there's a couple, they are completely into one another, their relationship is solid. They're wanting to explore playing with others, but not necessarily have the emotional investment like polyamorous relationships. Those are dating, having full relationships, sometimes living with other people. They're not really wanting that. They want to stay in their partnership, but they want to figure out if playing with others and like-minded individuals or couples or groups is something that they want to invite into their partnership. And so that's kind of what the monogamish means. And everybody's going to have a little bit different definition, but they're staying true to their partnership. They don't want outside relationships. And so when we are working with clients, they're usually like, okay, we've had this fantasy and we keep talking about it a lot. It keeps coming up. We're really excited about this. How do we maybe start seeing if that's actually something we can handle? Because that's, you have to be very solid in your communication with each other, first and foremost. So I think I just want to put this out there. A lot of misconceptions about people that are in the lifestyle. Lifestyle is starting to be more of the term rather than the quote unquote swingers.
Right.
Back in the 70s, swinger parties, right? Okay. So lifestyle is just a little bit more open and accepting. There's a lot of different variations in there. And so a misconception with that is that their relationship is not, they're not fulfilled within their relationship. So that's why they're seeking outside stimulation, whether that be with somebody emotionally or somebody physically. That's not true. Usually these relationships are, and again, if you're not in a space with your relationship where you're having that good communication, do not explore this at all, because it's kind of like people that are having a tough time in their relationship and they just like, oh, if we have a baby, that's going to make this better. It does not. It's like throwing a grenade into an already like chaotic situation. And so communication, trust, understanding, and that's definitely like what a lot of times the clients come to us with is they're talking like, okay, how do we go from, we usually take them on a scale of 0 to 10. If 0 is nope, this isn't even a thing for us, and 10 is we're participating in this experience, where are we at and how do we get to that 10? Or do you even want to get to that 10? Talking to, a coach about it might be between a 3 and a 5, and helping you work through guidelines and, kind of a framework around integrating that into your relationship. So I threw a lot out there. We can dive in wherever you would like.
Yeah, Brianna, yeah, I'm glad that you put in like guidelines, because some people just like open it up, but there's got to be boundaries for the couple and even boundaries for each person.
Absolutely. Yes. And, I think that, there's a whole process that we kind of work them through. And I think a lot of times when they first come to us, they have this fantasy, they're excited about it, but there's also, a little bit of shame that's surrounding it. And that's why they're seeking help, because they're like, is this okay? Am I normal? And it's like, yes, if you are both consenting and this is something that lights you up and turns you on, it's absolutely okay. Again, as long as you both are in this together and consensual about it. And so definitely implementing guidelines. What does this look like? What do we actually want to explore, and how do we navigate that? Are we, again, so if they're talking to a coach or somebody, they're talking about this, it's about a 3 to 5 on the scale, then they're like, okay, let's get on some dating apps. Right. And there's specific dating apps and websites out there for lifestyle. So they can get out there and they can search that. And they're like, okay, well, we kind of matched with this person or couple. What does that look like now? Do we want to go and meet them? Do we want to have a date? And then they kind of work through that. And when we get there, is it just meeting them? Or if everything's good, do we want to progress to the next phase? And what does that next phase look like? We always tell our clients, like, when you go into a situation, it's very easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all. Know what your firm boundary is. If you go into it and you say, we're just having dinner, we're meeting them and connecting, seeing if we vibe, we're not doing anything, but then you get there and one partner's like, oh no, let's go ahead, like, let's do this. And then you do that, that's when regret and resentment can start to come up, because you didn't stay true to your boundary. There's always more. Like, you can always say like, hey, we had really fun, like a great time at dinner. Do you want to meet up and maybe see where this goes? Mm-hmm. Like, do not cross that boundary, because that's when you start to have like, it gets a little uncomfortable.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And I was also thinking that sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, that people have shame about it. Mm-hmm. And then couples who have said, yes, well, I don't want to do this in my own backyard.
Yes.
Like, they look at different cities or different,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's lots. There's so many different resorts. There's vacations. Like, there's lots of things that you can go and do and explore. And it's really nice because those places are very sex positive. Mm-hmm. They're very welcoming. And that's another thing is, people, a misconception is like, oh, like everybody's just doing all these things. And it's like, they're actually consent is a very big thing. Right. You don't just assume because somebody's there, like, I can touch them, even just on the shoulder. Like, somebody has to invite you into their space always. It's very respectful, consensual. And if somebody says no, no's enough, which is amazing. So it definitely is a great place to go and explore even if you're not in the lifestyle, it's just nice to be around sex positive, mature adults, you know? So that's hard to come by sometimes, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So to start that conversation, I know you says fantasies, and then sometimes couples decide to go actually speak to someone. But I'm assuming many couples don't speak to someone.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. How should that process work in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also books too. So there's books and so many things out there, resources. So you have the conversation and you're like, okay, like I'm really enjoying this. Are you really enjoying this? And then one, it's in a neutral space. It is not in the bedroom. It is not when you are aroused and excited and you're in the moment. It needs to be in a very neutral space. So that's where you first have that conversation.
That's a valid
And then
point.
yeah, because it's very easy. Again, you get wrapped up in that excitement. You're like, yeah, I'd definitely be into this. Like, you have that conversation, you sit down and be like, okay, we've been talking about this a lot. This keeps coming up and we're both enjoying this. Is this, you've mentioned that you'd like to do this. I'm kind of on board with that. What does that look like? You know, is it going to be with another couple? Do we want just a single person? Is that person male or female? What does that look like? And you can have that conversation. Are we going to go somewhere? Are we going to invite them to our home? It's a longer process than I think a lot of people realize. And it's not, I mean, yes, there are people that are like, oh, this just happened and we did this thing and it works out okay, but that's not sustainable. So if you're wanting to make it sustainable within your relationship, again, because your relationship's your priority. So then you kind of just work through that process and you say, okay, like, what are we going to get on a dating app? Are we going to do this? Let's explore. And I just highly, highly, highly recommend people always communicate in a group chat.
Right.
Do not stray away from that. Or if somebody does try to side message you, like one of the partners, bring that to the relationship. Say, hey, they kind of messaged me. Here's what they said. Whether it was just, hey, you're really pretty, doesn't matter. You need to always keep an open dialogue with your partner because, again, that's your person and you're in this together. It is not to find outside stimulus, And so then you kind of navigate that and, what are we comfortable doing? Do we want to just flirt and have conversation and maybe we kind of, above the clothing touches, is that okay? Do we want to go to a club and explore what that might look like? There's also some great, there's a want, will, won't list. So it's kind of like a checklist of things like just in general, what you might want to explore in your relationship. So if you go to an adult club, are we just going there to watch people? Is that stimulating, And then you can say, okay, what are we wanting to do? Are we wanting to get physical? Is that going to be a soft swap where like maybe it's just oral and touching, or are we wanting to have a full swap scenario? What does that look like? Have a code word also for at any point. And
yes.
Have a code word.
Yeah.
Yes. So important.
What's good, what's not good, what the partner's thinking. Yes.
Yeah. So that way, if you're in a scenario and maybe it's progressing too fast for one of the partners and they're like, okay, I just need to slow down, and just get my bearings. And it just can go so many different ways, And so again, just keeping that communication open, it is so, so important. And also understanding that you have to take ownership of your own emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not going to know how you feel until you're in a situation.
Right.
You can think, but yeah, it's a great turn on in your mind. Like, oh, I'd really like to see my partner with somebody. And then when it happens, you're like, okay, hold on. What's actually happening? Am I not okay with this because society says this isn't okay? Or is there actually something really like inside me that needs to slow this down? And I think this is also really great because it empowers people to voice their truth and express themselves.
Right.
And especially for women, I want to speak to women. We are not taught, or, you know, we learn to suppress our voice a lot, especially in the bedroom. And so this can also be a great reclamation for women specifically, really using their voice when they're in a experience that they might not have had previously.
So,
So
Brianna,
it can also be very
yeah.
healing.
Yeah, if you're in that conflict, you know, you said yes, 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 all the way too, and then you get there, and then, like you said, these feelings come up, these emotions,
Yeah.
and what do you do? Because sometimes it's hard to process right there when you're seeing this. You know, I did say yes, but now I'm feeling this. You know, do I say my code word? Do I say stop? Do I run out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally okay to just say, can we pause for a second? And it's as simple as that. Can we pause for a second? And then again, because you've had conversations up to the point, and, you know, whoever you are interacting with, again, if they're respectful of you, that respectful enough that you decided to go into this experience with them, like, they're going to listen and be like, okay, what's going on? And if they try to pressure you to keep going, then stop immediately and say, okay, this just is not what we want. This is not the experience we were hoping for. But again, if you say, can we pause? I need to reset. Maybe you need to go to the bathroom. Maybe you need to talk to your partner. Just do a check-in with each other. And little check-ins throughout the experience too will help you make sure that you're connected. And then again, after an experience, do a debriefing. Like, how was that for you?
I'm also thinking that's the partner. You should anticipate that there are going to be some check-ins. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't shock you if someone says, you know, hey, can we take a break? And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of having fun. You know how
Yeah.
people
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
be. Yeah.
And I'm thinking
Yeah.
people should expect the unexpected when it comes to this, because the person who initially brought it up, and you kind of talked to it a little bit, may get into that scenario and see their partner being touched by someone else. And it's like, okay, whoa. So like you said, being in control of your emotions, but expect the unexpected.
For sure. Yeah. And I also want to say, this does not mean that jealousy does not come up. It's a natural human emotion. Like, you can totally, but again, just checking in with yourself and saying, okay, what is this jealousy? Is that something that normally is just something I do with my partner, and I don't necessarily like that they're doing that together? Speak up and say, hey, can we try something else? That's totally okay. But yeah, I don't want to say the people that are in these experiences in the lifestyle, like, jealousy is going to happen. And that's okay, as long as you acknowledge it, own it, and figure out how you can move through it together.
Yeah. I think the great piece is doing this together and communicating.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And this isn't,
That's,
like I
again,
said earlier, this isn't a way to fix a problem.
No, definitely not. And again, just bringing it back to, this is for us. It is about our connection. This is our fantasy that we're, participating in. This is for us. And yes, again, you want to be respectful of those that you're playing with, but it comes down to you and your partnership, and that is the most important. You don't have to worry about others' feelings or them feeling like, oh, well, they just up and left. Be respectful if that is what is needed for your relationship.
Yeah. Which is sometimes hard for some people who are people pleasers.
Yes. And like we said earlier, this is a great way to kind of take back ownership of that. Maybe things that happened in life where you became a people pleaser, you didn't get to voice yourself, you get to put that into place now. And it's really empowering for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a way for some couples to explore, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's just, we've been so conditioned for hundreds, thousands of years that you get married, you have one partner, and that's it, And so when you start to think outside of that norm, social norm, expectation almost, you feel like there's something wrong with you. And I just want to say that that is not true. This is, we are sexual beings. And as long as it's in a safe, consensual space that both partners are, wanting to explore, then enjoy and have fun.
Okay. Do you see couples at all stages of life coming to, or just,
Yeah. So a lot of times, again, long-term relationships we see. So they're kind of like, this is something that's been coming up. A lot of times too, we see couples that are not right, they have older kids.
Right.
And so they are just like, we have more time. And this has been something that's kind of always been in the back of our mind. Our kids are, either out of the house or they're older and don't need us as much, and because it is kind of a time investment too, to be able to set up dates and go explore or go on, to resorts where this lifestyle is accepted. It's kind of time consuming sometimes. And so when you have little kids, it's not the easiest, and they're not even in that mental capacity of intimacy to even think about exploring that with others too, because they're like, we're just surviving right now.
So when you're in that lifestyle, and I would think if you had a couple that you and your partner worked with a lot, after a while, that emotional connection would happen if it's over time.
It could, yeah. And that is definitely something as well to talk about is how much do we want to hang out with these people? We connected with them. We're like-minded. We get along great. Again, always communicate in that group chat. And, some people choose to only they kind of go through a rotation. Like they're like, we're not exploring and we're not playing with people for a couple of months. And then we might have a couple maybe, or they spread it out and say like, okay, we only get together every few months.
Right.
Rather than let's get together every weekend, every month, because that is definitely where you start to get some emotional development. And again, you just need to be very transparent with each other in that space of what would we enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you said communication is a big thing. Do you believe in having kind of an exit strategy put together prior to? And I think about, in case, someone gets pregnant or you start to get an emotional connection, should you have an exit strategy in place in advance of?
So not in a play experience, but just in general.
Yeah.
Like if they're, just in general. So yeah, life changes. Like again, if you have if a couple connected with another couple that they were having more frequent play sessions with, then definitely let them, like, you're probably going to be communicating that anyways. Like, hey, like we're in this space right now, like we're taking a step back. But other than that, like you don't owe anybody an explanation. Like it's your relationship. And if you're not tied, and that's the other thing with monogamish, again, you're not emotionally tied to other people. So you don't necessarily, but now like we talked about earlier in a play session, like if you check in, like you use your code words, like, like your plan of action to get out of that. So you can get into your space and, come back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I like how you kind of clarified that you don't, besides your partner, you don't owe the other couple an explanation. And yeah. And some people think, you do, especially if you live in the South, it's this,
like, sorry. Yeah. And again, like if you have that kind of connection established, then sure, you can let them know like, hey, we're going to take a step back for a bit. And again, they're going to be understanding because you've obviously been interacting with them. So it's, not something to really worry about.
Awesome. Yes. So if people out there listening and they want to connect with you and learn more about how to get, involved with this, or they're thinking about it, them and their partner. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. So we offer couples coaching. So my husband and I, we do work with couples together, which is great. And so we can do that in a couple of different varieties. And so we kind of cater that to the partnership. And they can find us and connect with us. I'm on Instagram a lot. So it's Brianna, Brianna Carey on Instagram. And then we also have our website, intimacyevolution.com. And we also have a podcast as well. So you can keep up with us there. So
Okay, awesome. And the name of your podcast, is it the same as the website?
Yep. Intimacy Evolution.
Okay, awesome. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I loved this conversation. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes, we'll take a break and we'll be back in a moment.
Are you in a relationship with someone that you see often, but you feel so disconnected with them? Bringing intimacy back can help you bring the intimacy back to your relationship. BIB is dedicated to inspire, enlighten, and encourage intimate connections. Live shows, weekly guest speakers with over 29,000 downloads. We can help promote your products and services, grow your business and clientele with BIB. Want to become part of the BIB family? You can now sponsor with us.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was a very informative show that I'm glad that we had out there. Yes.
Absolutely. I think it's much necessary. It's just, it probably confirms what some people out there who may see this video have been thinking and wanting to try, and even open the conversation up with their partner. So it's a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely, if you're out there and you're thinking about it, definitely check her out to help you and your partner have that conversation. So what's coming up next?
Oh, absolutely. We have some great shows coming up. On February the 2nd, we have Nurturing Your Relationship and Yourself with Rachel Oz. On February the 9th, we have Design the Life You Love with Shanna Francesca. On February the 16th, we have Dating in Today's Generation. So we have a good one with Alan Ramakalawan. Hope I'm saying that right. And then on February the 23rd, Survive to Thrive, How to Get Intimacy Back After a Narcissistic Relationship with Woman Warrior Christina.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Some exciting shows coming up. So definitely, if you've been listening to the show, if you like us, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And definitely check us out. Yes, this has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next month.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.